So I have pre-built these, but I'm gonna rebuild the customer support assistant from scratch just to show how it's done. It's really oh, one thing I wanted to mention first is that when you install this template, you're going to need a knowledge base with at least some data in it for it to work properly. In the interest of time, I just loaded our website and help center into here. You will obviously have your own. So that's something that if you want to use the template, you'll need to set up a knowledge base, and we'll send a link on how to do that if you don't already know. All right, so creating a new assistant is, of course, you give it a name. The description is just for your own organization. It's optional. And then one important aspect is that you give your assistant a goal. The goal is used by the AI, as the assistant's going to try and work towards that goal. It also helps you sort of focus your assistant on the job that you want to do. Like I said, you don't want to have a giant assistant that does 15 different, completely different workflows. And so when you design your goal, it helps you focus on what is the specific thing that you want that assistant to do. And in this case, we're just going to ask it to answer a user's question or resolve an issue. Very simple. Then you're going to create a persona for your assistant. This can be as simple as, the classic hello world of AI, you are a helpful assistant. Usually you're going to want to give it a little bit more personality and guidance than that. In this case, we're going to give it a name. We're going to say your name is Flo. You work for FlowXO, a little bit about the company that she's working for, and a little bit of personality. You're fun and friendly, like to give out fun facts from time to time, and you like to use emojis. So, you can use this to take some trial and error, but you can really create a lot of different types of voices and personalities. You can make it a pirate if you want. So this is something that you'll want to play with if you're not happy with the tone of your assistant or the voice that it's using. And then the instructions is the heart of your assistant. This is where you tell it what it is and how it should work. And you can structure this in many, many different ways. So if in another training, we'll talk more about more workflow heavy assistants, like a lead qualification assistant that needs to ask specific questions in specific orders. And you might design that differently. In this case, with like a customer service assistant, I just like to give it rules that it needs to follow. And so I'm going to go over a couple of these because they can be important. So the first one is answer any questions that you have about pricing using our webpage. So this is an interesting example of being able to use these assistants to answer different questions in different ways. So we have a bunch of articles, help articles on our website, and some of them have examples from the past before we changed our pricing. And so the knowledge base would sometimes use our current pricing and sometimes use old pricing that it found in some random like conversation history in an article example. And so to combat that, we're just telling it that anytime you get a question about pricing, look it up on our webpage. Don't bother with the knowledge base. But any other questions should come from our knowledge base. And we're asking it not to make up anything, just only answer what it gets from the knowledge base to help prevent hallucinations. We're telling it that it can engage in small talk and answer general knowledge questions like, how to make good pizza. But we don't really want our bot to be abused. And so, I jumped ahead. Sorry, that'll come later. In this case, we're just telling it that it can use small talk, but don't discuss competitors, other companies, their products or services, and just direct them to the other company's website if that's what they're asking about. The user description.
Nathan, sorry, before we move along, help us understand the syntax of why you got the your rules header there with the pound signs. Is that important?
It can be. So I always like to use Markdown headers for the different sections. The AI training has been trained on a lot of Markdown. It does help differentiate the different sections better than if you just start writing rules. So it's nothing. We don't have anything internal that has any understanding of the headers, but the AI itself will sometimes perform better when you do it that way.
So as a best practice, use Markdown
Yeah.
syntax then.
Yeah, and also, as you'll see when we save this, we show the instructions in Markdown, and so it'll also help visually for you to understand how this works.
Right.
Okay, and then there's the user description. So the user description is totally optional. It's where you did, if you wanted to tell the AI who your user is, you can. So you can say this user arrived at our website through our pricing page, or whatever. You can also have variables in here. And we'll send a link on how to use these, but these can get pulled from the user profile attributes and a couple of various other places, metadata, such as like the web page that the bot's hosted on. So in this case, we're telling it to use the user's language, which if you're on the web will get just automatically detected. And if we know their name, then we'll tell the bot what their name is already. All right, so default model, this is the model that you want to use. For the main assistant, I almost always use GPT-4. You can try with GPT-3.5. In fact, with a customer assistant bot like this, it probably work. When you have more complicated processes and workflows and steps that it needs to follow, 3.5 just usually doesn't do it. But as I'll show in a little bit, you don't have to use the same model for every aspect. So you can use 3.5 for like question answering if you want, but still keep 4 for your main assistant who's making the decisions. The AI connection is just whether or not you're going to use credits or not. And then you can decide how many history messages you want to keep. It'll be cheaper and faster if you keep this low. You can go all the way up to 100. But in most bot conversations, from what we've seen, 10, 25 is usually plenty. People aren't usually needing to ask questions too far back in their history. And then output fields, we're actually not going to discuss a whole lot right now, but this is the data that the bot will output. We'll show it a little bit in the escalation assistant, and then the tools. So for now, we're just going to add a knowledge base.